What is up, everybody? Welcome to RF Radio episode 1. Thank you to everyone who listens, tunes in, takes what we have to say, and hopefully implement it in your lives. Before we get into the episode, just a couple quick things. First, the whole mission of doing this podcast is to get you exposure to professional trainers, people who have been working in the industry for quite some time between the three of us, educate you on what's going on with fitness, health, maybe some mindset in there as well, give you some tips, answer some questions, and maybe even inspire you a little bit. So if you do have questions, always make sure to leave them in the comments. Also, before we get into it, just a couple things for those who are in the Waukesha area or surrounding areas. We do have some fun events coming up. We have a golf outing happening June 12th. That's at Wanakee Golf Course. So if you are a golfer or aspiring golfer, make sure to check that out. We have a Little Warriors Ryzing charity event coming up. So if you like to give back, there's your opportunity. And then later this summer, we'll be hosting an obstacle course race at the gym. So stay tuned for that. We've also got some programs going on for youth athletics. So if you have a young athlete in the household or know of one, we have a lot of opportunities for them to not only get better at their sport, but also get more fit overall and learn some things early on. And then for those who are looking for more personalized coaching, want to get involved with the community, you can do that through personal training, semi-private training. We offer boot camps, and then also we do online coaching. So all that being said, thank you for tuning in. Let's get into the episode. All right, what is going on, RF community? Welcome to RF Radio episode 1. Thank you all for tuning in. Since it's episode 1, we figured the best approach would be keep it simple. As I've been told, sometimes you just got to kiss. Keep it simple, stupid. So the whole point of this first episode is introduce you to the RF gym, the RF community, the RF man, the myth, the legend, Ryan Zingsheim himself, and just go over what the culture is here, what our mission is, and then as coaches, our backgrounds, why we do what we do, and then maybe field a question or two at the end. So let's get into it. I think the best place to start would be with you because you're the reason we're all here. It is Ryzing Fitness. So I think the staple of all of this is just talking about maybe even starting a little bit with your journey into fitness, how that progressed into you wanting to start your own gym, having the opportunity to start your own gym, and what you want to do with having your own space.
Yeah. So, I've always loved fitness. I've played sports my whole life. What got me into fitness, though, is I took a hiatus in college. I wasn't allowed to play soccer. We kicked in the head a few too many times. So I stopped all physical activity, and I not only gained the freshman 15, I gained about the freshman 90. So very unhealthy, very sedentary, not a good lifestyle. Fast forward to junior year, I started kind of turning around. Some friends helped, and I started working out, changed my diet heavily on the drinking, and I started losing a bunch of weight. Slowly found myself in the gym every day, just kind of really loving it. My best friend helped me over the summer. Then I trained with him at our local gym, and I got absolutely huge, to be honest. Just a lot of muscle, low body fat, just loving it. And then I started helping training my younger brother. I would train my other childhood friend, show up at his house and drag him to the gym, even though he didn't want to show up. And then I was kind of like, kind of good at this. And I really like helping people. I know what I'm doing with this. So why not get certified? So I went down that whole rabbit hole, then started working at the gym that was here before, Body by Design, and slowly but surely just fell in love with it more. My creativity just sprouted like crazy, and I had so many ideas, so many new things I wanted to try, and I'm like, you know what? One day I'm going to own my own gym so I can make any idea that I want happen. So fast forward, that was 8 years ago now, and here we are, year 2 of ownership, which is pretty crazy, going into 8 years of being a personal trainer. So the goal with Ryzing Fitness is to be a community for everyone. Our motto is "Strong looks good on you." So Yes, weight loss is obviously a good goal and it's okay to have, but we want to have the whole encompassing goal of overall fitness and building muscle, lifting weights, cardio, all the things. So this is our hub for that. And we also want to make fitness fun. You walk in here, everyone's joking, smiling, laughing. You see all of our crazy toys or crazy workouts. It's a vibe in here. Everyone loves it. So that's kind of our goal, and we want to now take that and spread it, especially across Waukesha County, but as far and as wide as possible, because everyone deserves to feel like they enjoy their body, enjoy working out. It's always not, doesn't have to be torturous. It's good for you. Yeah, strong looks good on you. Looks good on me.
Yeah, and I feel like one thing that our gym, as someone who's worked at a few very different style gyms throughout my training career, I think this gym has a better setup than anything I've ever seen with like your catchphrase, as people will find out, is it depends. And I feel like every coach, their answer when someone asks like what's the best workout program, it all kind of boils back to like the one you'll do and the one you'll enjoy. And we have coaches with such different backgrounds, such different philosophies. I think that's why we wanted to have a panel of three coaches instead of just one or two of us sitting, because all three of us have a very different approach. Obviously, there's crossover. There's just things that you should be doing no matter what your style is. But that's what I think people love about this gym is if you're doing one coach's boot camp or training with them, you're on balance beams and playing with balloons and it's very gamified. Then you can go to a coach where it's very data driven, quantifiable, proven theory. You can go to another coach where it's just gritty and all about going into deep waters and seeing how well you swim. So you get a mixed bag of everything, which I think is really cool. And then on top of that, the physical space, we're sitting in a golf simulator room. We have an aqua room with an ascension rig that lowers over it. We have a Hero Fit armory. We have a boot camp room with training on the perimeter, open gym, basketball hoop. So it really does feel like a place where, not to like copyright Planet Fitness or anything, but like everyone does feel welcome because no matter what you're into, you have a little like sub community within this community that likes to do what you do.
Absolutely. Everyone deserves to have a place where they feel welcomed, and we want to make sure that this place will always be that place.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I feel like a good spot to dive into now. So the gym, obviously, you took it over a couple years ago. I think what you've done a good job of is giving coaches permission to like stay in their lane and grow what they're good at and what they're passionate about. So let's talk a little bit about what we're passionate about and how we got to be here. Anthony, uh, one, I think people are curious to hear what you sound like. Two, just touching on you grew up in a very specific athletic lane. I think that lane taught you a lot about who you are, what your goals are with your own athletics. But what did that do to drive you to want to be a coach?
Yeah, I started young with sports, started with soccer, but I did cross country and track for 13 years competitively from middle school through college. It was that lane, especially in track, it's a good pun for staying in my lane for the majority of my athletic career. But it drove me how to be dedicated, taught me how to be dedicated, trust the process, and hopefully see things in the end that you might not see right away in the beginning. But I really fell in love with training when I volunteered with my parents' personal trainer one summer in college. I saw the community that they built with the people that they had. My parents loved it. Everyone else loved it in the community. I loved it. I worked out with them all the time. When I graduated college, I have my exercise science degree with strength conditioning coaching. I knew I wanted to stay in some sort of coaching position. So I went to school for it. Started out at a small gym called Fitness Together. It was great, loved my clients there, but when I found this place and got my interview here, I fell in love with training all over again because it was the community that I wanted and knew I could get into. And with the youth athletics program that we're building here too, that was a really good avenue to get into the true passion of helping athletes become the best that they can.
Yeah, that's what's interesting about the youth athletics program. Of course, us three are really the main drivers of that program as well. I'll speak for myself, but it feels like a very full circle moment to grow up playing sports and inevitably I'm sure you two would agree, like you have coaches that you loved and left a lifelong impact on you. And you have coaches that maybe you didn't get along with so well and you wish they would have done things differently. But at least from my perspective, growing up, a lot of playing sports was just focused on the sports. Not a lot of time was spent on just overall health habits, on mindset, on the things on the periphery of the sport itself that elevate you to the next level. And so I think doing the youth athletics program, we get that opportunity to add something to the mix that we didn't have when we grew up. And that to me is a really powerful thing too.
Yeah, I know my parents supported me without a doubt, the best that I've heard of from other athletes that I've been around with everything they did. But I know looking back at it, I wish they had the information that we have right now as coaches and the information that's come out since we've been done competing in sports to help those youth athletics, and could have been, potentially an even better athlete than we were. So it is nice to be able to take all that knowledge that we have that's come out in the last decade or two and give it to these kids. Because I wish I would have had more of a training specialist in my life than I did, other than my coaches and my parents, not knocking them at all, but it would have been a lot more beneficial, I think, overall.
Right. Also, quick side note, you'll see the pass off happening to my left. We are planning on getting a better microphone setup. This is very ragtag. So if the conversation feels a little like choppy or paused, it's episode 1. Be patient with us. We'll get that figured out.
But going back off what Anthony said, is you don't know what you don't know at the time. Again, so much research has come out over the last few years, and so they're really only like the top high-end level athletes got into like the strength training aspect and all that. And we kind of followed up just later on. Even just lately, research is saying that like it's okay to lift at a younger age. It's not going to stunt your growth and all these things. But again, we're just working with what we know now. So we know a lot more now than we did 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago when we were playing youth athletics. So we just want to share our knowledge with the current research and make your kids have the best opportunity possible and stay injury free.
Absolutely. So I'll get into my story just so I don't turn into like the interviewer of the podcast. So yeah, similar background. I grew up playing sports, every ball, puck, stick thing you could do with athletics. I started very young. I had an older brother. We were pretty competitive with each other for as long as I can remember. So just fell in love with the game aspect, the ability to improve oneself through a specific sport or just movement vertical, if you will. But I didn't really realize I didn't have the critical thought or self-awareness to know why I loved it. I just knew that I did. And then after high school, went to college for a year, hated that, ended up dropping out. And I took a little time to think about, if money wasn't a factor, obviously it is, but if money wasn't a factor, what would I love to do and what would I want my mark to be? And I just kept reverting back to health and fitness. That was the thing that kept me sane when I was in college, going to the gym every day, moving, learning about myself, learning about kinesiology. And so that's what I fell into, worked my way up, just very unaware of what the industry was like, started cleaning machines at Planet Fitness and just figured it out from there. And it's interesting because we talk about full circle. I really do feel like this chapter I'm stepping into is the full circle moment of what I dreamed when I first wanted to do this as a profession, where now I'm getting to make an impact on kids that I would love to have had someone make that impact on me growing up and being involved in sports. I get to train in the domains that I really like, which is doing obstacle course racing and balance ninja stuff with people at the gym, and getting to shine a spotlight on ultra endurance stuff and the mindset it takes. And just this natural progression of, it almost feels like as you level up as a person, not only your appreciation, but your capacity to coach and to train levels up right alongside that. And so, yeah, I just have fallen in love with each evolution of what it means to be a coach, from teaching boot camps to taking clients to hosting workshops to doing stuff like this, just all the different lanes in which you can make an impact and have fun doing it, I think is what lights me up. But what I think people would be curious to know, maybe not, but let's find out, is if you have a moment in your head, I think I know yours based off your story, but if you have like a moment where it clicked where you're like, oh, I don't just want to make exercise something that I do outside of work and life, but I want to like make that what I do for others. Was there like a moment where that clicked in your head?
I think in the same notion, like training my younger brother and seeing like he wanted to come to the gym with me and lift with me and Andrew and have a great time, but also friend who I helped, his mom still to this day, every time I see her, thanks me for showing up at his house and dragging his ass out. Because it made such an impact in his life. And I want to do that for as many people as possible. And it's that, okay, I can do that. And this is my path towards doing it. So I put all my bucks in that bucket. I don't know the phrase.
Yeah, eggs in a basket.
Eggs in the basket. Thank you. Put all my eggs in a basket, and here I am.
Heck yeah. Anthony, what about you?
Yeah, I know I kind of touched on it already with volunteering with my parents, personal trainer growing up a little bit. I originally wanted to be an athletic trainer when I first went to college, because I was in the athletic training room quite often being injured, but then fell in love with the community with helping them or helping my parents coach. That gym's no longer in business, but my parents still talk and hang out with and work out with a lot of the members that were there. And whenever we see them, I just went home for my dad's birthday a couple months ago and invited some of the people out for his birthday because they've been such good family friends. And that's what I've wanted to help build since then. And just know that there's the community that's always going to drive you, always going to push you. But you're never going to be alone in it. Even if they're on different paths, different whatever, different age groups. I mean, they're 20 years apart, my parents and these people they hang out with. So it's always going to be fun to see that fitness can bring so many different walks of life together.
Yeah. Yeah. Mine was, I would say it was a two-parter. And I think these are the two main reasons I do it. The first one is very similar to you. I just had a couple friends that wanted to get into working out, or they were already into working out and we were just training buddies. And I just remember that experience of the accountability that you get to put on someone else just by being there. I think that's why the vast majority of people do personal training. Like, yes, obviously we know our stuff, but more than anything, it's just the fact that you are being held accountable by someone to show up, to do the work, and to do it with intention. And just the simple fact of, yeah, like talking to friends about meeting at the gym consistently, figuring out what an effective program looks like when we're there. That to me was the first piece where, like, I again can picture it at Planet Fitness on the Smith machine doing bench because they don't have bench presses. We were doing some Smith machine bench, and I remember it just clicked of like, how cool would it be to do this and get paid? So that was the first part. And then right around that time, I also flipped the script on myself where it was that sentiment of there is no better accountability in fitness than being a coach, because not only are you're looked at as an example, but there's no way to take the easy route, right? You have to be the one that's paving the path. If I'm asking my clients to do X, I'm doing at least 2X. And there's really nowhere to hide. You're either doing it or you're not, and that's going to show up immediately. And so that sense of you get to hold yourself to a certain standard, and you kind of have to if you want to excel in it, but also you get the opportunity to then flip the script on the people who are holding you to that standard and say, all right, well, if you're going to be part of that community where the standard is here, you got to hold that standard here too. So to me, that's such a beautiful thing. What I think is very cool about fitness and what we'll get into next is how you do that is very subjective. I think every coach, based on how they grew up, how they got introduced to fitness and training, what their natural inclinations are, what they've studied along the way, everyone has a very unique approach to their own training. So yes, obviously we all have our own training philosophy as it pertains to clients, but I think people would be curious to know, because all three of us are very different in how we train and our philosophy around it. So take a second just to explain whether it is about how you do your workouts, how you live your life, like what is your philosophy as it pertains to fitness, health, and just overall well-being?
I mean, in college, we had the 80-20 rule with a lot of things. 80% of the time you have the salad or the healthy food, the 20% of the time you have the cookie. So to have a balance with it, I try to preach that to my clients as best I can, because I live by that too. You got to have the fun with the routine. Otherwise, it doesn't become fun. It becomes, monotonous. It becomes, you're less likely to stick to it. But I always say, going back to what you were saying, like we have to lead the way. I never make a client do something I can't do or something that I wouldn't do. So like I know I have some clients that are stronger than I am with like bench press or squats or deadlifts or something like that. But I know I can deadlift and I showed them how to, and I built them up from below to where they are now. Like if I'm making a client do a specific exercise, I make sure beforehand I can do it so I can demonstrate it properly. So I'm not going to hurt them or they're going to hurt themselves during that.
And what's your, like, if you aren't thinking about clients, just your own personal fitness wellness journey, what's your philosophy for yourself when you're in the gym, when you're out living life? What would you describe as like your fingerprint as it pertains to health and fitness?
Oh gosh, great question. I would have to say just do what you're going to stick to is a big one. I got back into running recently. I took a couple year break from for the most part, but slowly getting back to that. So my like strength side has been going down, but my running's been getting back up. But find something you're passionate about. That I find things that I'm passionate about every few years, whatever it is. Now I did jujitsu and kickboxing for a little bit. I got really big into that. Before that was big into weightlifting. So I just kept finding things that interested me so I could stay on it, so I could keep consistent as well. So, and then I try to have good support systems around. So I did a challenge with one of my clients for weight loss. So we were both keeping each other accountable. And that's a big one for me, is having someone there to keep me accountable.
Yeah. Yeah. That to me is the people that I find do the best, I'll say, not only with like sticking to a program, but enjoying it, is just chasing curiosity. Like if there's a version or vertical within the world of fitness that you just find interesting, like go do it. If you want to climb a rock, climb a rock. If you want to do some yoga, go sign up for a class. If you want to do a bungee boot camp and swing from the ceiling, do it. Like chase the curiosity, because the worst thing that will happen is you learn a tool, and even if you're not actually invested in the thing moving forward, you can take a piece from that and plug it into the bigger picture. But yeah, so I think chasing your curiosity is huge. But what you got?
Well, I was going to say that was a part of it, which is why I love being here and training here. And I think I became the trainer that I am in being here. We got so many coaches of different backgrounds and know so many different things that I tried to, especially early on, absorb as much as I could of that and then take it and make it my own. It helped me learn a lot and stay curious to then find a path. I think when I first got into really strength training, very dogmatic. You got to do the bro split, barbells, dumbbells only, screw everything else. I use all tools. I drastically changed my approach. I think my philosophy overall is just being as strong as possible, athletic as possible, mobile as possible, while maintaining energy and sanity. So doing that as balanced as possible. Enjoying the things you like to do, knowing when you have to kind of push and grind through the suck, but also the give and take. Again, I used to work out for 3 hours a day, sometimes 4 or 5. Now I'm lucky to get a 45-minute workout in with everything. So I have to be a little more like strategic with my approach to it. But all those years building up to this and learning the new things and being curious, I know how to have the most efficient, to have the body and moves that I want. Especially now getting into golf, I got to use my strength and become more mobile. And I think I've done that. Then I was so stiff and rigid and injured in the past that I went down that mobility route while being actually got stronger from it. So
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was trying to talk about when I said like one piece can often fit into a different puzzle when it comes to this stuff. So it's like I'm willing to bet if most people have spent their whole life bodybuilding and they took up yoga, they would find that they're getting stronger because there's applications of doing a whole different set of movements and a different movement style that you'll learn more about the whole system, right? And that's kind of been my philosophy for a long time is I think every trainer will have nuance, and I could spend 20 minutes talking about my philosophy because it changes with the seasons. There will be a whole season where I set some outlandish goal like running across the state, and the next 6 months there's one focus and it's just get across the state. And then once I do that, usually I'll go into a season of just play and rediscovery of how my body's feeling, how it's moving. And then usually I'll go into a season of essentially like gamification where it's pick the things I'm curious about in that season, try to get really, really good at them. Golf is a great one for me right now. I went from not really caring about golf to watching YouTube golf videos in my free time and getting out and playing, whether it's on the simulator or on a course a couple times a week. And that's why I think curiosity is such a powerful thing. And that's why you'll hear coaches say, it depends in some people's case, or do what you'll stick to. But to me, I think the thing that would sum up my philosophy is the sentiment of the infinite game. Like I like playing the infinite game, which is a game that you play for the sake of continued play. So like Pac-Man is an example. Pac-Man, you don't necessarily play to win. You play to just keep playing the game. You want to keep extending your time playing. And that's how I look at it. I think every new curiosity, every new playground, every new puzzle piece, it makes it so that you're more capable the next thing you go into. You're more well-rounded. You have a better mindset. You've built the evidence across multiple platforms. And I very much agree with what you said. I've always said I want to run with the skinny boys, lift with the big boys, stretch with the yogis, and meditate with the monks. So I think if you have the strength, the endurance, the mobility, and the mindset, you can have the confidence to carry that through into stuff that you've never tried before. Um, and then one other thing I think too that I don't always adhere to, but I very much believe in and try to adhere to is don't take it so seriously. Like I think a lot of people, myself included, it's easy to fall into the trap of whether it's you're just starting out in fitness in general, or you're starting out playing golf, or you're starting out doing a new thing that should be just like a fun, lighthearted hobby. All of a sudden you get attached to it and you're so focused on like getting better that you lose that childlike wonderment and curiosity and fun around it. And it becomes this thing that now is like attached with all these metrics and progress and need to improve. When at the end of the day, for a lot of people, for a lot of things in their life, just enjoy it, have fun, be mindful with it. So that's the approach I try to take. But yeah, I think our hope is that we can rope a few of the other coaches in, hopefully all the other coaches from the gym, and get them in here to talk about their own philosophies, because truly all of us have such a unique approach, whether it's with our own training, whether it's how we coach clients, how we put on boot camps, what workshops we host, everything like that. And also, I think just the mindset around it in general. And so hopefully we'll be able to highlight a lot of that for you guys. But another piece of what we want to do moving forward, obviously, again, today was just hear about the gym, hear about us as hosts of the show and coaches at the gym. But moving forward, what we would like to do is each month tackle a particular subject, whether that be strength training, mobility, recovery, supplements, nutrition, hydration, sleep, stress, whatever. And part of that is going to be answering your questions. So we do have a question that we got for today, just as an example of what we're going to do. But towards the end of every episode, we will take all of the questions, whether you put it in the comments, whether you email us, whether you post it or put it on our Facebook page somewhere. We will be monitoring those. We will be answering these on a monthly basis as we release the episodes. So if there's any topics you really want us to cover, if there's any questions you have for one of us in particular about fitness, nutrition, health, mindset, anything in general, or something you're just curious about the gym and our community, make sure that you're asking. That being said, we do have a question. So let's see what that is.
So I had someone comment on my Facebook post. Do we want to say their name or no?
Nope.
Okay. So we had someone comment, would love to hear your guys' thoughts on what the perfect lifting split is for a general lifter trying to gain muscle. And we've touched on this kind of quite a bit, in my opinion, with whatever you're going to stick to. Like if whatever split you want to do, if you've been lifting for a little bit, whatever your split is that you're going to stick to every single day, every single week, whatever it is, do that one, as long as you're getting to the close to failure point and most of your lifts. Otherwise, it comes down to, I think, nutrition more than anything than your lifting split to truly gain the muscle that you want to gain.
Yeah, it's an interesting question, right? Because it needs investigation. So I'll kind of go into, I think if you only have 2 days a week, then you should be doing full body both days. Maybe a priority of upper body one day, priority of lower body the other day, but making sure that you're hitting each of the main muscle groups twice a week. If you have 3 days a week, again, I don't want to be the it depends person because that's that's your job. But it really does, because if you have Monday, Wednesday, Friday, that looks different than Monday, Tuesday, Friday, which looks maybe a little bit different even than Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. But I would say making sure that you start with good form, because no matter how much weight you're throwing around, if you're not doing it the right way, you might gain muscle, but you'll realize the thing isn't the thing. So if you gain muscle and are always injured, you won't appreciate gaining muscle. So always start by practicing good form, good alignment, doing the things the right way. And then once you've practiced the reps, then you move into the performance stage of trying to max out whatever rep range you give yourself, trying to push yourself on the weight and the intensity. But yeah, if there's no context and someone just poses it as not knowing how many days a week the person has, not knowing much about their life or where they're starting from, I would say making sure you're doing some type of resistance training for each of the main muscle groups twice a week, making sure that you're getting enough protein, which we will dive far deeper into that and our takes on what a sufficient amount of protein is, but getting enough protein, making sure that you're getting enough recovery, and then starting with doing it the right way before really focusing on intensity.
Yep. So I'll kind of piggyback off both of them. As the labeled guy, it does depend. It does depend on a lot of variables, as Trevor touched on. But to be more specific and not just be a it depends guy and dive in, consistency trumps all. Even a shitty program followed consistently, you're going to get results at least for a little bit of time. You might get injured down the road, but early on you can still get results. It matters about consistency first, and then how much time do you have per week, per workout session, all those things. But just going into it, piggyback off him, if your goal is to grow your chest, I would make sure you hit your chest 2 to 3 times a week. If your goal is to grow your glutes, hit them 2 to 3 times a week. So if you only have 2 workouts a week, doing 2 full body days where you're hitting what you want to hit would be the best. If you have 3 days, maybe do an upper lower full split. Again, the more you have, the more variety and options you can do in upper lower splits or full bodies, but making sure you hit what you're trying to grow 2 to 3 times a week. And then intensity with good form. I think eventually we'll do a hot take section, but I'll just already dish one out. My hot take is, I think maybe a small percentage of people actually know what true failure is in terms of lifting. So taking those sets to actual failure, not mental failure, perceived failure, whatever, but like, I can't push this bar off my chest. I need someone to come lift it off, like, because my muscles are done. So you need to train hard there. Not every set, not every workout, but strategically, if you really want to grow that muscle group or whatever. And then following that up with good nutrition, making sure you're eating enough, especially if your goal is to grow muscle, get stronger, you actually need to eat more calories. You can do the whole recomp where you gain muscle, lose body fat, but the longer you lift, the harder that is to do. So making sure you're eating enough and then recovering and sleeping well and enjoying it. So that's what it depends on.
Yeah, took the words right out of my mouth. When I got the mic back, I was just going to say caloric surplus. Like, don't be afraid of. Yeah, don't be afraid of adding on a little bit of body fat if your goal and priority really is to pack on muscle and get stronger. Like, it happens in seasons. That's why you'll hear the terms like bulk and cut, and you don't ever hear someone say they're doing a bulk cut. Like, it happens in phases. You build the muscle, focus on that. Then you trim down the body fat, you focus on that. If you're new, it is very doable to do both at the same time, just because your body is having to do a level of output it's just never done before. But I would say my one last thing on that would be patient. It's very easy to fall in the trap of instant gratification nowadays. And fitness and health is just not a game suited for that mindset. So consistency, patience, and then, not to plug us as coaches, but I would say talk to an expert, talk to someone who can help you build out the program based on your specifications, where you're starting from, what your goals are, what your schedule allows. And then the other piece too, just being very honest with yourself, like, how committed actually are you? Because I myself, and I'm sure you guys can attest to this, have met many people in this pursuit that want something, but don't actually want the thing once they realize what it takes to get it. So it all falls back on do what you're going to stick to. But it's a really good question. I wish there would have been more like context clues, because then I think we could have had like a proper debate, but not knowing like how many days a week, what the person's schedule looks like, where they're starting from. But again, that's not a knock on who asked the question. That's just us being picky as professionals.
Yeah. But also, shameless plug. That's why we do what we do. So if you do not know what you're doing or not seeing the results that you want, that's why people hire a coach. Again, once you hire a coach, it doesn't have to be forever. It certainly can. We'll always take your money. But my goal would be for you to hire me for a short period of time and then never see me again, because you get so strong and you know what you're doing and can do that consistently. Obviously, we're all human. That's not how it works. But just reach out to a coach. We'd be happy to help you with any goal that you have. We have 11 trainers on staff here who have expertise in every area. So if none of us three know an answer, someone in this building does. So check us out.
Absolutely. So that being said, I think we'll wrap it up here. We wanted to keep this one pretty simple. Just introduce ourselves, introduce the gym, talk a little bit about what we're doing, how we're doing it, why we're doing it. But before we get out of here, again, one more time. Well, I'll start with this. I'll do the YouTube spiel. If you are not already and you've made it to the end of the video, please, for the love of all things good in this world, like the video, subscribe to the channel. The plan is to feel out this content space. We'd like to do one podcast a month. That gives you time to think of good questions. Make sure you comment those or send it to us. Our emails will be in the description below. Any topics you want us to cover, make sure you put those in as well. And then coming up in the future, we would like to make different styles of content, us training together and talking about exercises we choose, cues that we look for, things like that. At some point in the future, we will be training lucky winners that comment words on these videos. Speaking of which, I'll toss one out right now. Anyone who comments episode 1 on this will be in the running to get a session from me and be highlighted in one of those videos. So if I see an episode 1 comment, you will be in the running to get a free session from your boy. But yeah, we want to just have some fun with this, educate you all, bring you into our lovely community that is Ryzing Fitness. So make sure that you stay involved, stay aware of what we have coming up. Anything else to add?
Well said.
I didn't know you had a mic. That threw me off. All right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Episode 1 in the books, and we will catch you next time.